I'm at Broadband World Forum in Amsterdam. I'm here with Howard Watson from BT. Howard, thanks for joining me today. Good to be at an event.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of things going on at BT in terms of transformation and work you're doing on the network side at the moment. I just wanted to drill into the sort of fibre rollout a little bit more. We see growth going up all the time in terms of what people are using and consuming at home. I mean, as you plan for the evolution of that network, are you thinking about things like XGS-PON at the same time as you deploy GPON?
Yeah, my colleagues in our sister company Openreach, well, first of all, what an ambitious program they've got, which to get to 25 million homes by December 2026. In Q1 of this year, they built 555,000, so they're ramping up capability to do that. And yes, we're looking, one of the great things about XGS-PON is the ability to deploy in parallel with GPON. So, we can almost take a particular PON node and just add it to that incrementally as demand requires it. So we see that increasing now, as customers with significant consumption come onto the network.
And is that quite easy to do? I know Nokia's talked about having chips that allow you to sort of take advantage of XGS-PON as well as GPAN on the same infrastructure. I mean, is there a difficulty in terms of trying to plan for both technologies at the same time, or is it becoming easier to do?
Well, it's essentially using an additional wavelength in the fibre. So it's a dual line card in the head-end device, and then it needs a new modem in the house, but only for the XGS-PON customers. So the great thing is there's no going back and replacing your GPON. It's truly incremental, and that's why it's relatively straightforward.
And there's been a lot of disruption on the mobile side in the UK at the moment because of sort of government rules. Are you sort of concerned at all there could be a similar thing happening on the fixed line side, or is that issue more or less been sort of laid to rest now in terms of what to do about high-risk vendors there?
Yeah, I'm going to say, I think you're talking about Huawei there.
Huawei's the word.
And it has already impacted the fixed side. So in the same way as in mobile, in 2023, we need to have got down to 35%.
Right.
And in mobile, it's by mobile sites and traffic, no more than 35% from Huawei. On our FTTP network, similarly in 2023, on our households being built and in progress, we need to be at no more than 35%. And the Openreach team, are absolutely working towards that. And on the back of that, actually, we're doing a lot of Nokia build at the moment. We've introduced Adtran as a third vendor there, and so making good progress.
Yeah, and that couldn't be revisited where they decide that actually, because a similar thing happened in mobile, wasn't it? They had 35%, but then they've had this longer-term target to not use high-risk vendors, which basically means Huawei at all. Is that something the government's looking at all, and how disruptive would it be if there was a similar?
Yeah, there's been a consultation on that. So again, in mobile, by the end of 2027, we need to be down at 0%, from high-risk vendors. Our intention is to ensure that we get the full economic life out of the Huawei FTTP kit that we have deployed, and we think that takes us to 2031, 2032. So we've been talking with government about that sort of timescale.
And you're talking about the need for a converged core, actually, in your presentation earlier, which sounds like it requires quite a lot of thinking about how to design the network, relying perhaps on more data centers than just a few as you push intelligence out to the edge. What stage are you at when it comes to thinking about those sort of things, and how might it affect the shape, the look, I guess, of BT's network?
Well, it's a really important opportunity for us. So, the core networks for mobile and fixed, if you were an operator independently doing the two separately, actually look quite different. In the mobile network, we still carry all of the traffic into 2 or 3 sites before we decide how to shape that and what traffic profile to apply to it. Whereas in fixed, we've pushed that right out to the edge of the network, the BNG functionality that we talk about. Now, we think there's a real opportunity to converge those, and the prize is quite big. To add a additional megabits per second on the mobile network compared to the fixed network is about 5 times the cost at the moment. So if I truly converge those, then we get, what I'm always striving for, I showed the graph today of growth in data, is how do we continue to add that at an ever lower incremental price? And converging our networks gives us that payback. It also gives us lots of benefits of seamless move from customers from one network to another.
Okay, so it's sort of finding synergies, to use that word, between the two, and therefore making the whole thing a lot more economical, and hopefully there's a sort of margin improvement that you see coming from that.
Yeah, and you know, customers shouldn't have to worry about how to get great broadband, whether they're at home or on the move or near a Wi-Fi hotspot, and our smart network will make that seamless.
And so, I mean, just look at it from a customer perspective. Let's say I, as a BT customer, I'm on my Wi-Fi connection at home on the phone. I move out the house, start using 4G or 5G. Can we see a future where things would just move over seamlessly without me even having to think about it?
That's what we're trying to do.
How hard is it to get to that point?
And if, in fairness, I've been talking about that for 2 years now. Right. It still needs a bit of work. So that experience, you know, that your smartphone will cling onto that Wi-Fi for a little bit too long, even though there might be a great 5G signal there. You know, so we're looking at ways of making that, you know, really intelligent, so that it's trying both networks, seeing what's best for you at any time, and then seamlessly switching across without you having to re-enter credentials. Yep. You know, and that you'll see us start to offer some of those. And
the technologies are coming that are, because as you say, it's been a story that we've heard in telecom a few times. Hasn't quite worked out for, as far as I'm aware, some technology reasons. I think it was quite difficult to make those handovers happen.
There hasn't really been that many converged operators either until quite recently. Yep. You know, and so, you know, we are, you know, it's not far away now.
Yeah. Maybe just to finish, I mean, on the sort of closing down of old legacy networks and realising, so that's a big ambition for BT. There's quite a big sort of cost saving attached to that. Where are you in that process? You know, when you're sort of thinking about not just switching off 3G, but some of the other systems that you run. You know, can you throw any figures out at all?
Yeah, I mean, you said there's a big prize there. So the way I like to think about it is I consume about 1% of the entire UK power.
Right.
And half of that is on legacy networks. You know, so there's a big prize there, especially now with what we're seeing with fuel prices. If I can, you know, take that, you know, 0.05% of the UK's power and switch it off, that has great economic benefits and great green credential benefits for us as well. And, you know, 2025 is the deadline we've set. I've got a network about to switch off, which is an old Nortel DMS 100 Centrex-based network that we call FeatureNet in BT. That switches off in the next few weeks, and then we keep adding on top of that. So it's hard because customers, you know, we don't want to do stop sales. We want to encourage customers to move to the new network, and that's successful.
That's the most difficult bit.
If we communicate it well, and it can be difficult.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks very much for joining me today, Howard, and hope to catch up with you again before long.
Thank you, Ian. Pleasure. Thank you.